Okay, welcome back. It's Thursday, which means in all likelihood tomorrow will be the end of another week already. We roll along. Merrily, madly, we roll along. Next Tuesday will be the ignition of all manner of very unpleasant activities. I'll leave it at that. Here are a couple of quick headlines. These are interesting. Let me find this here. The Great Reset. Okay. The guy who founded the World Economic Forum, the WEF, is named Klaus Schwab. And we all think of the Great Reset as being the WEF's big deal. He said in a Time magazine interview, and this is kind of interesting, this may be a new buzzword. Let's watch and see how it rolls. He said, "We need to reimagine capitalism." Reimagine. Now watch. People using reimagine. It was sustainable. That was one of the most disgusting of all the buzzwords I've heard in a long. Whenever you hear sustainable, you run. But he wants to reimagine capitalism. That can mean anything. Could start with the same letter, capitalism, and end with the same letter, but it might be communism. Easily done.
We're kind of all in this together right now. And the thing we have to understand is we've even got a new Arctic methane bomb starting to release in Siberia. It made the news today.
Good story. Big story.
Yeah, and it's just not ending. It's getting worse. You know, Dane Whittington warned us about this methane release stuff from the Arctic years and years ago. And as this stuff releases, it's a massive greenhouse gas, much worse than CO2, and it's heating up the planet. And these geoengineering people that are using scalar wave technology to heat up clouds, to heat up the ionosphere, who are basically using satellites to do this and radar dome systems, all kinds of things now are being used for geoengineering. They're trying to destroy the planet. And people are always asking me, well, why do they want to destroy the planet? It's very simple, because God made it. They hate God. They really do. We call God from the Old Testament the great I am. They don't call him that. They call him Ein Sof. It's the god of the Kabbalah. It's a giant snake in a tree. And Sabbatain Zevi in 1666 called these people together and said, we've got to make everything as bad as we possibly can to destroy the planet to try to resurrect this serpent god. That's everybody who's involved with all of this stuff at the high ups, or if you want to say the boys and girls who took down Building 7, it's always the Kabbalists, the wizards, and the witches. And these are the same ones that are running the CIA, running these covert operations with this weather manipulation. They're the same ones who are sending all these hurricanes this summer into the New Orleans in the center, the Gulf Coast areas. And they're the same ones that I was in North Carolina last week, Jeff, and it was like 88 degrees. It's almost November. I mean, most of the leaves have not changed. Oh, it was horrible. Wow. And see, if people don't understand, this is what's happening all over the world. And now the same Kabbalists who run the international banking cartels who control the weather, they're basically doing the same thing all over Europe, and they're doing the same thing with the coronavirus. And they're shutting the international world engine down, the economic world engine, so they can increase the amount of money in circulation and not cause hyperinflation to cover all of the derivatives, because their entire system is falling apart on top of them. And they're basically in a desperate phase right now because they want to bring in a new world order, a new world currency, and a one world religion. That's their goal, ruled out of Tel Aviv through Noahide laws. Because remember this, guys, the Noahide laws, the symbol of the Noahide laws is the rainbow flag. They see that they have this rainbow flag. That's what they have. Right. And it's the same thing as the gay flag. And you say, well, why would the Noahide laws and the gay flag basically be flown together, in Israel? In Tel Aviv with the Israeli flag. Well, here's why. In their Kabbalah, they believe that God was a hermaphrodite and he was split apart during creation, that Adam and Eve were hermaphrodites.
The Kabbalists?
But yes, they believe this. And they believe that God was a hermaphrodite. They believe that Adam and Eve were hermaphrodites. They were split apart. And they absolutely hate childbirth. They hate it because it's an anathema to them. They hate it. That's why they are so all about abortion all the time. And that's why they want the entire human race to become hermaphroditic. That's the entire push now we're having towards transgenderism. That's the entire push we're having of giving little boys female hormones and cutting off their genitalia. And this is why they love homosexuals in Israel, because it's the number one homosexual destination in the world, because when a person's gay, they're one step closer to becoming a hermaphrodite. That's what they believe. These guys are sick. They're a bunch of sickos. And the problem is they try to twist Scripture with the New Testament, try to twist Scripture with the Old Testament, and they try to justify all of the things that they do with their Kabbalah and their Luciferian tentacles. And this is the group that runs the planet. That's why we're getting 60 different genders. That's why little boys are being turned into little girls. Little girls are being turned into little boys. And that's why they love – a few years ago, I had a friend of mine. He's German. He married a Jewish lady who was a Kabbalist. He didn't know she was Jewish. I have no idea how he didn't know this, but he married her. And when Trump won the election 4 years ago, this Jewish woman went into a complete total hysterical meltdown. She literally was on the floor for 3 to 4 weeks, flopping and flailing. Oh, she hated me. And I told her, I said, look, I don't like Trump. I voted for him, but I don't like him. I don't like any of them. I sure don't like, any alternatives with Hillary Clinton. I don't like any of it. That wasn't good enough for her, because I wasn't bending over and kissing their altar of their stupid pagan gods they've got. She absolutely turned on me like a doggone nightmare. She made it so bad on her husband, he finally moved out. He moved out, and he ended up dying over the stress. He's dead. He's dead,
Oh,
Jeff.
Really? Oh, that's sad.
No, you can't make this stuff up.
No, she killed him.
The stress did, yeah. And so the sad part about all of this stuff is she was so upset when Trump won 4 years ago, and that Benghazi witch, and I'm talking real Sabbatean witch, Hillary Clinton. Remember, Larry Nichols said that she used to go to her witch's coven every 6 weeks in California. That Sabbatean witch didn't win the White House. And so when you get these people that are witches like this, and they're basically, and guys, I'm not being facetious. I'm talking and telling you that Hillary Clinton has her own coven. I mean, she's a real witch. The other day, I went out and had lunch with Sharon at a local restaurant, and there were 4 witches sitting there. 4. They were dressed as witches. I mean, at the restaurant.
They actually were. It's not Halloween yet either.
No. This was 3 weeks ago, and they were dressed from head to toe solid black with black makeup. And I walked up to them and I said, Are you guys Wiccans? No. And I said, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. You're all dressed in black. And then they said, this is Coven's Day Out. Fun day out. That's what they said. Coven's fun day out. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. And about that time, the 5th witch to complete the pentagram showed up, all dressed in black. And I looked at him, I said, well, I got to go. I kind of left, and I had my grandchildren with me, and I went like away on the other side of the building just so they wouldn't even get a look at the kids or the tag number or anything else. I thought, I don't want these people to even know I exist. A bunch of weirdos. And guys,
isn't it, you really have to, the decimation of what used to be courtship, marriage, family is virtually complete in many areas of the country. I feel very sorry for, this is not a sexist observation, for America's males who are trying to find someone to complement their lives 50-50 with. The American female now, in many cases, has been so role confused, if not gender changed and corrupted. They honestly, many of them, and you all know this, they don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. They don't know what their role is. They don't know how to have a successful shared relationship because they've been told unless you dominate, you're no woman. So American women have been really sacrificed by this horrible agenda. And I feel sorry for the American male. Often they're dumb. They don't get it. Their hormones get in the way. So it's a recipe for disaster is what we have now. And normal reproduction, it's heading out the door. They don't want it around. It'll all be AI, artificial insemination, and other sorts of things in the not very distant future at all.
Well, no, you're right, Jeff, because they feel that childbirth is just an abomination because they feel as though
abomination. That's correct.
No, that's what they believe it is. And that's why you get all of these witches now that are running around everywhere. I mean, the other day I was at a doggone restaurant, and some girl's wearing horns. One of the waitresses is wearing horns. And I looked at her
Wait
and
a
said, "You're a
minute.
witch."
And the boss had to allow it, of course.
I don't know, Jeff. I didn't go to the boss. I was just happy to get out of there. And and the craziest thing was just, she's wearing horns. I asked her, I said, "Are you a witch?" And she goes, "Well, no, I'm just wearing horns." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." This is the world we live in now. People walk around with horns on, waiting on tables. And I'm like, this is nuts. But see, again, think about it. This is what they wanted. They wanted to destroy. They don't want Adam and Eve. They want Adam and Steve. I mean, they don't want guys and girls being
Adam
together.
And Steve.
No, you're right. Jeff, you're right. I feel so sorry for today's young men. Because number one, not only have they been basically drugged down with hormones like bisphenol A in the plastic bottles they use constantly or in the soy burgers they eat, all right? They've been told by the women that basically they're no good and they're sorry, and the women basically don't know what, like you said, they have lost the role model that God gave them as far as what they're supposed to do. My wife, I'm so blessed. I've been married for 37 years. And guys, I married a German girl. She's 5'8", blonde hair, blue eyes. She is stunningly beautiful. I'm not joking. You guys have seen her on my shows before. She's stunningly beautiful. I mean, it's been a wonderful life because but I was married before though. I was married before to a girl who was finishing her PhD in economics, who was a complete and total disaster to marry. Unbelievably messed up in the head, had no idea what her role was supposed to be as a mother or as a wife. I made that last for about 3 years, only because what I tried to do to make it last as a Christian. And finally, I had scriptural grounds for a divorce, and you guys who are Christians, you know what I mean by that. And I pulled the plug on it. I said, I'm done. I've had enough of this mess. So I've been divorced. I guess I want you to know I'm not trying to hide on it, but I don't try to pretend that. But now I've been married to my second wife for 37 years. And it's absolutely wonderful because it's the way a marriage is supposed to be. And people say, well, how is that? I said, well, we both give 100%. I give 100% to her. She gives 100% to me, but she realizes that I'm the head of the household. I make the decisions as far as the finances and, what we're going to do and all these different things, but I always include her in my decision making. And it works because it's a biblical marriage. And somebody yesterday, I was talking to a guy who does pressure washing. And he was on the back porch talking to me. I was going to get my driveway pressure washed. And he asked me how long I'd been married. I told him 37 years. He says, can you please tell me the secret of how you've been married so long? All my wife and I do is fight. We've been married for 7 years. It's a never-ending fight. And I said something to him. I said, look, God, here's how it works. His name is Jeff. I said, look, Jeff, here's how it works. I said, Christians and secular people both have about a 50% chance of divorce. It's just the way it works, except for with one exception. With one exception. I said, here's the exception. People who pray together out loud every day to God together have like a 1 or 2% divorce rate. So you have like a 98% chance of having a marriage that's going to be held together if you pray together out loud. Because you open up yourself to God, you open yourself up to your spouse, you share your intimate prayers with your spouse, with God, and you become a cord of 3 strands, which is what the Old Testament says is not easily broken. And see, and that's what you become when you become a Christian and you pray together with your wife audibly. Now, some people say, well, I don't want to do that. Well, that's okay. That's all right. I mean, just I'm telling you what I did. My first wife, she refused to pray with me because I wanted to pray with her. She refused to pray audibly with me. That's why she is my ex-wife. It just didn't work. And so I'm telling you guys, I've experienced it at both levels, and it's a lot better if you're intimate both physically, mentally, and spiritually with your wife, and you tell yourself and tell her all the different things that you guys need to share together. I'm giving you guys some marital advice tonight because after being married for 37 years, I've learned a few things that work, and I've learned a few things that don't work. Well, you're qualified,
for sure.
Well, yeah. Now, we did have one rough year, and that's when she went through menopause. So, guys, if you haven't been through that with your wife yet, good luck. It was awful. But
that's the human hormone nightmare. That's a terrible thing to have to go through, I would imagine. I've seen it. I've watched people's lives virtually ruined by it. It's terrible. That's a tough one, for sure. Well, but that's what really makes a good marriage, though. If you can get both of you can work through it.
It wasn't that. what happened is she got real argumentative. If I said the sky was blue, she'd say it's black. If I said it's green, she'd say it's purple. It didn't make a difference. Whatever you said was an argument. And finally I told her, I said, look, this dog ain't hunting. You got to stop this. I said, this isn't okay. I even called a pastor friend of mine in to talk to her, and it really helped. In fact, let me tell you the story with this pastor. His name's Pastor Wade, and he's a great guy, great friend. I've known him for 25 years. And he's old now. He's like 88 years old, but he's still preaching every weekend. Well, about 6 months ago, his doctor that he had some health conditions. His doctor basically retired. He got a new doctor, a female doctor, a Jezebel doctor, a horrible doctor, a worthless doctor, and she put him on medicines that made him lose like 30 pounds, ulcerated his intestinal tract, ulcerated his stomach, destroyed his posture. Who can't sleep. Unbelievable. No, he's almost dead. So they called me up on Monday, and they said, hey, look, can you come help this guy? Because, I was trained as a naturopath. And I said, sure, I'll come talk to you. He's my friend. I've known him for 25 years. And he's like a mere shadow of himself. He lost like 30, 40 pounds in 6 months on this meds. And so I have all these back problems. First thing I do, I pull this medication up, and the doggone medication is being used and for certain conditions, but the primary side effect are back pains, back issues. And I looked at him and I said, what were you doing before with your health issues? And he goes, well, I was just doing diet and exercise, and it took care of it fine, but this new doctor put me on these meds. I said, well, she's probably trying to kill you, bud. And I said, this is ridiculous. I said, or she's getting a kickback from the manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And so we got him off the meds. He decided he didn't want to take it anymore. I gave him all the research on him. And then I started him on our supplement program. I got him on the powdered multiple, the vitamin C, the D3, and I also put him on, a really good antioxidant protocol. And what happened, he called me up today, and I had to take him over to a doctor's appointment. I mean, this is how good of friends we are. And he goes, Ted, I tell you what, I feel 100 times better than I did 4 days ago. See, and this is the key. If you put poison in your body with drugs, they have side effects. And if anybody's listening to me tonight, listen to me for 1 second, please. If you go to a medical doctor and they say, we're going to put you on these drugs, what you do is you research those drugs. Just put down, if you want to put down statin drugs, side effects.
First thing you look up are side effects.
That's right.
First thing, side effects.
And then what you do is you make an evaluation. You say, okay, look, this one causes sudden death. This one causes heart attacks. This one causes strokes. This one causes, you become impotent. All right, so what you do, you weigh it out. Let's say you've got a problem with allergies. And so you have a drug you're going to take that causes sudden death. Wouldn't you rather just have the allergies instead of taking a chance of sudden death? Ask yourself those questions and be very, very thoughtful when you make a decision to purchase these drugs. I mean, my gosh, the side effects of this drug he was on were unbelievable, and they've almost killed him with it. And see, this is what people don't understand, Jeff. The medical Rockefeller Rothschild industrial complex destroyed homeopathy, destroyed naturopathic medicine. It tried to destroy chiropractic back in the 80s, tried to make it
succeeded.
illegal.
Yeah.
Almost succeeded. And because of that, once Rockefeller learned he could make these drugs out of his petroleum products, he went nuts with it and wanted to completely and totally dominate it. In fact, if you look in the Bible, it says in the book of Revelations that these guys who practice pharmakia, or the use of these drugs, is a type of wizardry, it's a type of witchcraft where they do all this crazy stuff, that they're not going to get to heaven. They're all going to go to hell. It says that. And so this is the thing these guys are doing. They're practicing black magic arts, and they're drugging the entire population now with hormones, chemicals, statin drugs, infertility drugs that make you infertile, and it's being done on purpose every single day by mainstream medicine. So always make sure you ask yourself a question: what is the motive here? Do I really need this surgery? Is there another alternative? What's the least invasive approach that I could do? Is there an alternative approach that I could find first? Like cholesterol. Cholesterol is so easy to work with dietary change. It's ridiculous to take a statin drug. Plus, you don't want your cholesterol under 200. 250 is fine. If you go under 200, all disease rates go up, and cancer rates go through the roof when your cholesterol drops under 200. Really? But they know that. Oh, yeah. Why? I don't know, because the cholesterol is being used by the body to manufacture hormones and other types of chemicals in the body that work as antioxidants. I did this research on this about 4 years ago, so I don't remember the exact mechanism. Okay. But what ends up happening is, if you get your cholesterol down too low, your brain goes to mush. You can't think anymore, and you basically have a much higher rate of cancer. And they say, well, it reduces the risk of heart disease. At what cost? Because it really doesn't reduce the risk of heart disease. They say that if you take statin drugs for 37 years, that you live like 3 or 4 days longer statistically, but you've got all of these horrible side effects like skeletal muscle necrosis.
Well,
all
again, I say,
it's horrible.
You get a prescription. First thing you look up is side effects. Side effects.
Exactly.
Hold on a minute.
Jeff.
Ted Broer and I will be right back with more after this. You can hear Ted and Austin every day here, Monday through Friday. This is really getting to be, there are so many potential outcomes or dilemmas with this so-called election. What happens if there is a tie in the Electoral College vote, for example? It's an unlikely scenario, but there is a precedent in our political history. There are so many things that could happen here. I still do not understand how these alleged polls can put Biden, who is unelectable, under any circumstance for anything that I can think of. I mean, we're talking about dog catcher. It doesn't matter. The guy is mentally unfit. It's obvious. 25th Amendment. It's obvious. Ho Harris? Who wants a dirtbag like that? She's not presidential material. And on the other side of the coin, to be perfectly honest and fair, Trump has his accusers of illicit sex, forced rape, the whole thing. Both candidates are clearly under a cloud, but most especially the Biden crime family. This is so dirty, so down and vile. It defies description. It is. Here's the sad part, Ted. We are seeing this kind of behavior now all too often, and it's becoming kind of a ho-hum yawn for people, and that's a dangerous signal. It shouldn't be. The carryings on by Hunter Biden, and they're real, they're in that hard drive, are beyond despicable. And if you don't think, and I know all of you people do, but if one out there, one person or one group doesn't think that the Bidens, the family, knew all about what's going on, you're crazy. You're just crazy. Hunter Biden is no victim having his private moments put all over the place. Yeah, underage girls, people seem to think it doesn't matter because this happened in China. Are you nuts? This guy is sick. The old man is sick. They're sick. This is a sick family. They rival the Clinton crime family. So we've got real problems. Please pull back from the personality issue, though. Make note of it. Understand your vote, if you're going to vote, has to do with voting for the constitutional republic of the United States of America, what's left of it, or communism. I've got a new word. It's called commucrat. Instead of Democrat. There's no demo in this, demos. It's communism, commucrats. We got problems here, big problems. We'll find out soon enough. But believe it, they, Antifa and BLM and the other communist factions are ready to burn it down. And they want, I believe, the controllers want Trump to win. If Trump loses, it's going to pull the rug out from under a lot of their anger. But if he wins, they'll go crazy. Or if it's contested, they'll go crazy. That's what the plan is. That's what the plan is. Go ahead, Ted.
Jeff, you're 100% right. That's exactly what they're doing. Because the Kabbalists that run the planet through the international banking cartels and through interlocking corporate directorships, the CIA, Mossad, MI6, the Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia, the Russian mafia, the Chinese mafia, the Irish mafia, the group that runs them all by allowing them to run their dirty money through the international banks are the Kabbalists. That's who runs the planet, period. And they want Donald Trump to win because Otto Kahn said this back in 1920 when he was interviewed. He said that basically they control the entire planet. They hold the earth by its axis. They control the Democrats. They control the Republicans. And they want to recreate the planet under the Kabbalah, under Noahide laws, to be ruled basically through Israel once it got reestablished, because it was 28 years later, it got reestablished in order to have complete control of the entire planet through the third temple with the coming of the Antichrist. That's what all of this is about. So we can dance around the roses and tiptoe through the tulips and say whatever we want to say. Unless you call that out, what I just said, it ain't going to make any difference, okay? And so Jeff's 100% right. The controllers of this planet want as much anger, as much bitterness, as much rage as they can possibly get. And they know this. If Donald Trump, basically wins, the left is going to go insane. Look what they did in Philly this week. They're going to just burn and just kill people all over the country if Donald Trump wins. It's going to be massive rioting everywhere. It'll make the last 6 months look like a cakewalk. But now, if the Democrats win, the Commie-crats, like Jeff calls them, if they win, the rug gets pulled out. There's no anger anymore because now we have another Obama weirdo. This is one of the reasons they put Obama in the office, knowing he was gay, because he was closer to being a hermaphrodite than we are. And think about this. They put his doggone wife in the office with him, whose name is Michael, and she's a guy. I mean, this is all sick. These
Mike
are the guys
Robinson.
that run the planet. Yeah, that's exactly right. So he's closer to being a hermaphrodite. So they love that. They honor that. They think that's the same person who died, okay, whose wife was a communist, the German friend I mentioned just at the beginning of the show. Their one daughter went lesbian. And the father was unbelievably upset about it. The mother thought it was a badge of honor. A badge of honor. She was so excited her daughter was a lesbo. And see, this is the mindset of these clowns. And see this is, this is sick, Jeff. And see, this is what they want. They want Donald Trump to win to get maximum friction. That's what they want. They want a revolution. And they think it's right. But now they've done the thing with the COVID. I mean, guys, if we take all of those trillions of dollars back that we gave the American population and gave these corporations and pumped up the stock market, we'd be in a free fall right now financially in this country. There'd be nobody buying anything. And see, now they're not giving any more stimulus money because they're trying to get us through the election and allow us to basically fall off the cliff with this financial nightmare that we've got ourselves into with this central bank. All of this stuff is specifically being designed to create as much chaos as they possibly can, because remember what their mantra is. Out of chaos will come a new world order. They want to destroy what God made. They want to destroy the planet. They want to destroy the ecosystem. They want to destroy all these different animals and species of animals. Heck, they want to destroy you and me. They want to turn us into hermaphrodites. They want to change everything about the planet as quickly as they possibly can to resurrect their serpent god. And this is the group that's running the show. This is the group that has been dealing with these interdimensional entities and demons for thousands of years as they worship Baal and Moloch and Asherah and all of these ancient Canaanite religion demons, all of the ancient Egyptian demons that they fed their children to through sacrifice and abortion. This is the same group that's been doing that. They call themselves the Benigni Nephilim, the sons of the fallen. They consider themselves to be the very progeny of Lucifer himself. So they think they are. These people are sickos. And this is the group that runs the world. And see, if we understand that as a Christian, or even as consumers, or even as patriots, it doesn't make a difference what we are in this country. We don't have to support them anymore and buy their stuff. We don't have to believe their lies. We don't have to turn their TV sets on. We don't have to support their movie theaters or their Disney World or anything else they've set up for us. We just walk away from all of it and say, you know what? We're not going to give you any more of our money. We're going to stop. And if you do that, you get their attention, because on top of everything else is that they're the greediest group of people that's ever been on this planet. They can print all the money they want. They don't care about that. They'll destroy Disney, which they've done now in Central Florida. It's laid off tens of thousands of employees. They can do anything they want. They don't care because they can print more money. They're not worried about that. They want the power, and they want their new world order, and they want their one world government under that satanic Benjamin Netanyahu over there in Israel. I mean, it's insane. It's insane what a career criminal this man is. It's insane what a career criminal Henry Kissinger is. I mean, these people belong in prison or at the end of a gallows rope, not leading countries and being called upon for getting advice. In fact, remember Donald Trump called on Henry Kissinger to get advice from him. I mean, the whole thing is nonsense. It's total, complete insanity that we've got a government that even allows dual citizens from another country to be in our government. The other day I was listening to this audio tape, and this guy was talking, and he was dancing around the tulips again. He goes, well, it's almost as if we have a foreign government running our United States of America, running our Congress, and running our government now. And I'm like, duh, we do. Last week, the Congress put forth a new legislation that Israel has the right to veto U.S. arms sales in the Middle East. Now, what the heck is that all about? How can another country veto our arms sales? It was all about maintaining equilibrium in the Middle East, and Israel now wants to be able to veto our arms sales. They don't have the right to do that. It's insanity. But because we have all of these Christians, and which I am a Christian, but I'm not a Zionist, and I don't read the Schofield Bible, we have all these Christians that believe that everything Israel has to stay perfect. That is one lady. She writes for a big alt news company. Big. I'm not going to tell you the website because I don't want to promote it. And I asked her one day, I said, so you're telling me if Israel causes World War III and wipes out 7 billion people on the planet, we're supposed to support them? She goes, absolutely, yes. It doesn't matter what they do. We have to support them. And I said, you're full of crap. No, we don't.
Wow.
But they believe that, Jeff. And she believed it enough to argue with me about it. And she was, and I told her, I said, look, I tell you what, just don't contact me again. I don't, because I'd had her on my show as a guest years and years ago, about 6 years ago. And I told her, I said, don't contact me again. You will never be a guest on my show again. I said, well, I'm done. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you. If you're this stupid, I can't believe it. I can't believe you can breathe air and chew gum and walk at the same time. I'm done. You can't have somebody wiping out the entire planet and thinking it's okay. But that's the mindset of the Zionists. They don't care. It's a death cult. It's a death sex cult. Jeffrey Epstein showed it to us. Death sex cult that wants to wipe out 90% of the planet and enslave the other 10%. That's who these guys are. It's some sick stuff.
Oh yeah.
And on top.
Oh yeah.
But that's who they are. And then we see this thing with Hunter Biden, and we realize that he's a complete and total pervert. I mean, he's got hours and hours and hours of sex tapes, basically pornography. I refuse to watch. It's unbelievable trash. I mean, just perversion stuff. And then we think, well, all of this is going to go away, is going to get better as soon as the election's over. No, it's not. France and Germany just locked down again. In fact, I've got my relatives in Germany. They told me we're locked down again.
Well, that's yeah.
Yeah, and I emailed them yesterday, and I said, are you guys
Comrade
really locking
Merkel
down
at
again?
work.
They go, oh yeah, we're locked down again.
She's been training all her life for this, Comrade Merkel.
Well, no, she was raised in East Germany. Yeah, she's a communist.
She's been training all her life to destroy Germany. Oh yes.
Well, because that's what she does. And now Muslims are killing people and beheading people in churches in Nice over there in France. And now the Daily Mail did an article that said Muslims have the right to kill millions of French people. Malaysia's former prime minister says after church terror attack in Nice, as Scott Morrison slams the abhorrent comments. I mean, he's saying that they have the right to kill millions of French people. Now, I don't know what he's reading, but remember, what the Kabbalists want is they want the Christians to kill the Muslims and the Muslims to kill the Christians and create this massive conflict. We saw that with the letters to Manzini. And then when that's over with, everybody will be so fed up with it all that we're going to have a new world order and a one world government and a one world religion. And so even the atheists will be brought into this. That's what they wrote. This is what they want. This is their little fantasy pipe dream they've got, and they're doing everything they possibly can to implement it now, including saying that Muslims can kill millions of French people. Now, I've been to France. Now, if you get out in the French countryside...
I ran that story. They can kill millions of French people anytime they want. No problem.
That's right. And I've been to France.
Islam, excuse me, Ted, but Islam is... sex and death cult, okay? Islam is something that is so non-human that it defies description. And the description can be found by reading the Quran. Just read it. It's right there. But it is really frightful, that alleged religion. Oh, my God. Bad stuff.
No, you're 100% right. Several years ago, about 3 years ago, right after all this crazy immigration happened in France and Germany, which Angela Merkel encouraged, my daughter wanted to go to Paris. She's about 15 years old. She wanted to go to Paris. And I told her, I said, Paris isn't what you think it is. It's not what it was, from the movies, with Breakfast at Tiffany's or wherever they were having their get-togethers when they were in Paris or whatever. So it's not that. I said it's a nasty, filthy, big city run by and controlled by Muslims. And she goes, oh, it can't be that, Daddy. It can't be that. I said, okay. So we went to Paris. And we took a cab to one of the churches up on a hill that overlooked Paris. And the cab driver said to us, he goes, you guys really want to get out? I said, well, yeah. He goes, well, cabs won't come back here because it's Muslim controlled. It's too dangerous.
Really? It was a Frenchman driving the cab?
Well, I don't know what he was, but he was, but he was speaking English. I don't know where he was from. I don't remember. So he left. And we went and looked at this church. It was real pretty overlooking Paris. We come back outside. There's no taxis. So we're like, we're miles away from downtown Paris, from the Eiffel Tower where the hotel was. And I told Sharon, I said, there's no taxis. I said, we're going to have to walk back. So here we go, me with my wife and my daughter, we're walking through Paris to this area. And we had mattresses on the sidewalk, mattresses of the medians, people urinating in the streets. Oh,
you walked through that hell of Paris.
Oh, yeah.
My.
Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden I looked at Sharon. I am with no gun. I don't have a concealed weapons permit in Europe, and I looked at Sharon and I said, this sucks. We shouldn't have got out of the cab. We should have listened to the guy. This is awful. And finally there's some cab driving by there, like trying to get out of that area. I run out in front of him, about runs over me. I flag him down. We jump in the cab. And he goes, what are you doing here? I said, take me back to the hotel.
Wow.
You can't be here. And I thought, this is Paris? And Savannah looked at me and goes, I didn't think it would be like this. And I said, I told you it wasn't going to be what you thought it was going to be, Savannah. And see, this is what happens when they come in and you have this cultural degradation of the indigenous people that have lived there for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
It's not even third world. It's Stone Age. It's way back.
And Germany's done the same thing. Germany, we were in Cologne, Germany, and we were at the Christmas markets a couple of years ago. Me and Sharon and Savannah again. And she's our last daughter at home, so she's the one who got to go everywhere with us the last few years. And we're basically walking to the Christmas markets, and we're in Cologne. And the markets are like a quarter of a mile away. And then I told them to the hotel, I said, is it safe for my wife and my daughter, because I had a car, to drive or to walk over there? She goes, no, you must not. And I'm like, well, why not? The Muslims. And I'm like, the Muslims? Yeah, you can't walk there. They'll be raped. They'll be taken away. They'll be sold as a sex slave. And I'm like, what?
Oh, my.
This is Germany. This is Germany.
Yeah.
And so I drove them back, and I drove them to the markets because I'd had enough of the Christmas markets. Been doing them for 2 weeks. I said, okay, guys, go ahead. I'm going to let you out here. I said, take a taxi back to the hotel. Do not walk the half mile, quarter of a mile, whatever it is. Don't walk back. Pay attention. And they did. They were fine. They stayed in the Christmas markets, and they went back. But Germany now, they've stopped Oktoberfest. They're saying they're going to stop the Christmas markets after Lent. They're going all the stuff that promoting and celebrating Christianity is being destroyed in Germany and in France. And we see that because, again, it's cultural degradation. We see the Pope now coming out this week and saying, oh, you don't even have to believe in God to go to heaven. That was his big comment yesterday. Yeah, that means you don't have to believe in Jesus. You don't have to believe in God. You just get to do whatever you want to do your whole life. You get to go to heaven. Well, no, you don't. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't happen that way. God's an energy field, and we have to be compatible with him. We can't be compatible with him and we're in a sinful body. We can't do that. It doesn't work. We have to go through a transformer, which would be Christ, which would allow us to be compatible with God's energy field. And see, this is what people don't get. We got the Catholic Church now completely degrading Christianity. I don't even think the Pope's even a Christian or a Catholic or anything. I think he's just a person who's been put in by the CIA through Operation Condor in South America, which nobody wants to talk about. And the 40,000 people in Buenos Aires and Argentina who were killed by our CIA thrown off the back of transport planes out to the ocean 100 miles out. And the Pope, the current Pope we have, was involved in all that. And see, this is the mess that we find ourselves in, Jeff. We find ourselves in this situation where everything is upside down. Doctors kill. Lawyers basically make people, they abort, usurp the law. We have people like Hunter Biden who could go free because what he did was in another country, and people turn the other cheek and they say, no big deal, it was in another country, he's not prosecutable in our country. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're missing the whole point here. The guy's a pervert. It's not okay. The guy's sick. Doesn't matter. Universities destroy knowledge. All of this stuff is happening all of the time, and we're supposed to sit back and just say, hey, it's all right, no big deal. No, it is a big deal. And no, it's not all right. And no, we can't just sit around and pretend like it's not happening. And yes, we've got to speak the truth about what they're doing, because if we don't, Jeff, who is? The vast majority of alt media is compromised. I'm telling you guys, 90% of alt media is Zionist controlled. 99% of Christian
Thanks for saying
TV,
that, Ted, because it's very hard for me to say that without sounding self-serving in some fashion. But it's true. The vast majority of alt media is created opposition. Yeah.
And Christian TV, 99% of Christian TV is Zionist control. We had one of the largest networks in Christian TV. Their daughter got married to a Jew. Okay? It wasn't even a Christian. The guy's a heathen. Doesn't even believe in Jesus. And they aired the entire service for like 4 hours one night on all of their stations globally. It's Zionist TV.
Wow.
And I can give you I know the people personally who did this. I'm not going to mention their names. And I'm like, what the heck's wrong with you guys? You should be, repenting in sackcloth and ashes and renting your garments and saying, I cannot believe that my daughter's marrying a non-Christian. But you're broadcasting it on international TV as if you're proud of it. What is wrong with you people? It's not okay. The Bible says, come ye out from among them, be ye separate, touch not the unclean thing. It warns you in the New Testament. Jesus warns you not to be unequally yoked. But yet people are just thinking it's all okay now. And it's not, Jeff. If we don't separate ourselves from the world, if we don't do something different than the world, how will they know that we're different? We can't allow, and with this alternative news now, 90% of the people, I'm telling you guys, and Jeff will tell you I'm right, 90%, not all of them, but 90% of alt media is compromised, especially if they're on radio. I mean, terrestrial radio, because almost all of that, that's right, is run through the Zionists. I'm not mentioning any names, I'm telling you. And so when you get these people to get $100 million because they run a podcast, not mentioning any names here, they're compromised. They're not going to tell you the truth. They're never going to tell you the truth. They're not going to talk about the third temple. They're not going to talk about how we sling $1.5 trillion of Afghan heroin every year.
People have even said that the Arabs own Hollywood and run it.
That's a total lie.
There you go.
That's a total
lie. Of course
lie.
It's a lie, but I mean, I've heard that.
And they said the Chinese own Hollywood. That's another total lie. Remember, the Rothschild banking cartel owns China. They own the central bank, just like they do the United States. So you got
only 3 countries left without a Rothschild-allied central bank: North Korea, Iran, Cuba,
Syria.
That's it.
And Syria too.
Syria too.
Yeah, and Syria.
Well,
and of course, that's why we're at full-blown war with Syria, aren't we, guys? That's why we're stealing their oil, aren't we?
We stole their oil. Can you believe this? Where's the ICC? We went in and stole their oil, and we're selling it and keeping all the money. Not even giving them 10%.
You can't even make it up. But yet, how many alt media people talk about just the $1.5 trillion in dope the CIA slings out of Afghanistan every year? The third largest commodity in the world between oil and natural gas. Nobody talks about it. Nobody. Because it's the money that makes the world go around. And alt media doesn't touch this stuff because they want to have their numbers bigger. They don't want to get censored. They yanked me off of YouTube 3 years ago. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm on the Rense Network and on Global Star Network. I could care less about YouTube. And see, that's the way you have to have the attitude if you're alt media. You can't be worried about, I've got to get on this platform or that platform and this Zionist control platform and that Zionist control platform and this Kabbalah control platform. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because the people who know and who listen to what we say, they know we're telling the truth. They know we are. And the people who don't hear it, who don't want to listen, I can't help them, Jeff. The Bible says, let he who has eyes to see, let him see, and ears to hear, let him hear. And guys, so many times people aren't going to listen or hear the truth. That's why you got to walk away from those people and just keep telling the message. Stay on point. And don't get all caught up in all of the distractions and the obfuscation of the media. It's awful, right, Jeff. But I want you to know something, guys. Jeff Rense is for real. And, and Ted Dawson Brower show is for real. And there's a lot of other people out there. Listen to what they say. Third Temple, Kabbalists, dual citizens in Congress, heroin out of Afghanistan. If you're not hearing this, something ain't right.
45 million Christian Zionists in this country.
That's awful. I'm ashamed of them. I'm ashamed of them. I talk to them all the time. I go to churches and talk to them. I say, guys, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to rebuild the third temple? Are you trying to start the tribulation? What's wrong with you? The problem is they haven't been taught properly.